Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another Thoughts at 3 online assembly. My name's Matt, and I am part of the schools team at Southampton City Mission. For those of you who have never seen one of these before, we are doing all of our school stuff online at the moment because although normally we'd be in school doing Question of Faith RE days and assemblies and prayer spaces and transition support for year sixes, unfortunately, at the moment, because of the continuing crisis and lockdown, which hopefully is soon to be completely lifted, according to announcements coming out this week, we are doing all of our stuff online because we cannot be in schools. So today's assembly is going to be much the same as usual in that we're going to have a story and we're going to answer some of your questions on today's topic. And today's topic is continuing our current series of People of God, and we'll be thinking about Mary, Jesus's mother. Now, please do subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell so that you can see us when we're going live. Please do like our Facebook page. Please say hello in the comments as well, and add your questions about Mary, Jesus' mother, or People of God for Bob to answer later on. Now, as we said yesterday and the day before, and on our Facebook posts, we do have guest Bob Hartman with us today. Unfortunately, because of a slight technical issue, we are only able to hear Bob, not to see him. So I'm going to add him in right away so that he can chat to us from the very beginning of our assembly this afternoon. Let's see if I can add him in now. Hello, Bob.
Hello, Matt, and how are you?
How are you doing, Bob?
I am fine. Thank you very much. Yes, I'm enjoying this lovely day.
Great. Fantastic. Thank you so much for being with us this afternoon, Bob. And again, I'm so sorry that we can't get the video working.
No problem, Matt. Not your fault. I will update my computer the next time.
So for some reason, I think it's to do with an update, an OS update on Bob's iPad. We can't actually see him, but really kindly, Bob has said that he will come back again another time once he's done that update. We were going to do it just before we went live, but it could take anywhere from half an hour to an hour to do that. So we thought we'll just hear you today, Bob, and then maybe you can come back again in the future and we can see you as well.
Sounds good to me, quite literally. Yes.
Fantastic. So we are in the middle of a series on People of God. As I've told you today, we're doing an assembly all about Mary, Jesus' mother. And you're going to tell us, first of all, in a moment, a story about Mary. But before we do that, please could you tell us a little bit, Bob, about who you are, where you're from, what you do, etc., etc. That would be great.
Yeah, I'm an author. I've written 80 some different books, lots of them retellings of Bible stories. And I'm a storyteller as well, so I travel around the country, visiting schools, conferences, churches, whatever, sort of doing live storytelling. Not so much at the moment, obviously. Been doing a lot of online stuff over the last 3 months. I come from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, originally, but I have lived in the UK on and off over the last 40 years or so.
Brilliant. That's fantastic. Thank you very much. So you're going to start us off today, introduce our topic with a story about Mary. And I believe Gabriel as well. I don't know if it's got a title, but I've just written down Gabriel's Surprise. Is that okay?
It's good. Yeah, it's called Angel Surprise, and that's great. And it's from a book I wrote originally, quite a long time ago. But the story is now in something called Telling the Gospel. And the original book was trying to understand, how angels did what they did and what they did what they did. So it focuses a lot on Gabriel during the course of the story, and then kind of draws Mary in. So do you want me to do it now?
Let's go for it.
Okay, here we go. The angel Gabriel sat in the corner and watched. The girl was only 13, 14 at most, barely a woman by the shape of her, with long dark hair and bright olive skin. Not beautiful, but far from plain. Pretty. Gabriel hugged his knees and scrunched himself back into the corner. The last thing he wanted to do was to scare her. But that's what always seemed to happen when angels appeared. And maybe that's why Gabriel hated these surprise visits. The girl was whistling now, doing her ordinary, everyday tasks as if this was some ordinary afternoon and not the most extraordinary day of her life. The angel rested his chin on his knees. Think, Gabriel, think. She's young, she's innocent, she's fragile. So how do you do it? How do you tell her that God is about to change her whole life without scaring her to death? Mary swept as she whistled, and as the dust motes danced in front of her broom, catching the sun and changing shape, Gabriel had an idea. What about a vision he wanted? The dust rises and takes on the form of a man. Mary, the dust cloud man says, you are going to be the mother of the Son of God. Gabriel shook his head, then buried it in his arms. No, 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 he decided, still too scary. And besides, all it takes is a strong breeze and the poor girl has to sweep her floors all over again. It was too late now anyway. Mary had put her broom away and was across the room preparing dinner. Gabriel climbed up out of the corner and stretched. Then he followed her to the table. Bread. She was making bread. And as Mary mixed the ingredients, another idea started to knead itself together and rise in Gabriel's head. He could write the message in the flour on the table, of course. A hand from heaven, like the one that scratched those letters on the wall in Babylon. But it would have to be brief, because there wasn't much time. Mary's parents were gone, and there was no telling when they'd come back through the door. He wouldn't want to be surprised in the middle of his message. Gabriel hated surprises. But wait, thought Gabriel. Maybe he could be the one at the door. An unexpected visitor with an important message. But what if she got scared and slammed the door in his face? Or what if some passerby saw them? She'd have enough explaining to do when the baby arrived. She wouldn't want to have to make excuses for some mysterious stranger. Gabriel had run out of ideas. He was running out of time. So he sighed. A long, frustrated angel sigh. Perhaps it was that sigh. Maybe it was something else that Mary heard. For whatever reason, she spun around and seemed to hang suspended in the air for a second, her hair flung out behind her, her feet barely touching the floor. And her eyes looked right into Gabriel's. They should have looked right through him, but they didn't. Somehow she could see him. Somehow she knew he was there. Hello, Mary, he said finally, because there was nothing else to say. God is with you and wants to do something very special for you. Mary didn't say anything, but she didn't faint either, and that was a great relief to the angel. She just stood there, shaking ever so slightly, and stared at her guest. There's no need to be afraid, Gabriel assured her, although it was hard to know exactly what she was feeling. Was she trembling with fear? Or was it more like excitement? Gabriel couldn't tell, and he didn't like that one bit. This girl was nothing like what he had expected. This girl was a bit of a surprise. Look, he continued, God is very pleased with you. So pleased, in fact, that he wants you to be the mother of a very special child, Jesus, the Messiah, the deliverer whom your people have been waiting for all these years. Surely this would shock her, Gabriel thought, and he was ready to catch her if she should fall. But all she did was sit herself down to think. She played with the hem of her dress, folding and unfolding it. She twisted her hair. Say something, thought Gabriel. Say anything. And finally, she did. I don't understand. How can this happen? How can I become someone's mother when I'm not yet someone's wife? This was the last question the angel expected. This girl wasn't hysterical. She wasn't even alarmed. Her question was plain, straightforward, practical. So Gabriel answered her the best he could. The Holy Spirit will visit you. You will be wrapped in the power of the Almighty, and you will give birth to the Son of God. Mary had never heard of such a thing, and it showed. In her bright brown eyes, it showed. God can do anything, said Gabriel. Think about your cousin Elizabeth, well past childbearing age, barren by all accounts, and yet she's expecting a son. Mary looked up at the angel and shook her head. She was still trying to take it in, but she wasn't afraid. He could tell that much. She was strong, this girl, a doer, a coper, a fighter. And when she finally weighed it all up, Gabriel knew what her answer would be even before she gave it. Those eyes of hers were shining fierce and bold. "I'll do it," she said. "I'll do it. I'll be whatever God wants me to be." Gabriel nodded. Then he turned to leave. He reached out to open the curtain between heaven and earth, and saw that his hand was trembling. He turned back to look at Mary one last time, and in the mirror of her eyes, Gabriel saw one shocked angel face. Mary smiled at him. He smiled back. Perhaps surprises aren't so bad after all, he thought. Then Gabriel pulled the curtain behind him and said goodbye to the girl who had surprised an angel and who would one day surprise the world. There you go.
Wow, that's a great story.
Thanks.
Is that a new story, an old story, Bob?
No, it's an old one. It was originally in a book called Angels, Angels All Around that was published sometime in the mid-90s. Yeah.
Wow, fantastic! It stands the test of time. It's a great retelling of that story of Gabriel telling Mary about Jesus.
Thanks.
Yeah, great. I wish I could see you as well as hear you, but maybe next time. That would be great.
Exactly.
So,
yes.
We've got, as well as the story, we've got some questions related to that story and about Mary as well. So you up for answering some questions for us this afternoon, Bob?
Sure, I'll have a go.
Fantastic. Good. So our first one is this. Do you like surprises?
I usually like surprises. I mean, I wasn't crazy about the surprise that I had today when I found out that my computer wouldn't work and we couldn't see me. But on the whole, yeah, I like surprises. I like getting surprises and I like giving them. I love coming up with a present, a gift for somebody, that they never expected in a million years and that they really, really like. I'm not a big fan of buying gift cards for people because I just find that really boring. I like to come up with something that really surprises people, and I like to receive the same thing myself.
Cool. Yeah, good. I'm not a massive fan of surprises where, as you said, I suppose it depends whether it's a good surprise or a bad surprise. I too was surprised this afternoon that we couldn't see you, but we've had a good surprise that you're going to come back at some point and we'll be able to see you and hear you a second time, which would be nice.
That'd be great. Yeah.
So our second question is, have you ever had an encounter with an angel? Obviously, in the story, Mary was quite surprised by the angel and didn't react in the way that Gabriel thought she would. But have you ever heard or seen an angel yourself, Bob?
No, I can't honestly say that I have. And when you read in the Bible about what happens when people see angels, it's it's usually quite a frightening thing. Yeah. I mean, it's why the angels always say, "Hey, don't be afraid," because it must be quite a terrifying thing. So goodness knows what angels look like. I mean, we have descriptions of some of the angels, the cherubim and the seraphim, and they don't sound particularly pretty looking. So no, I've never had an encounter with an actual angel. I mean, some people will say, won't they, that other people can act as angels. I mean, if you think about angels being messengers of God, then yeah, sometimes people take on those roles, don't they? And I've had plenty of people who have kind of, made God real to me through what they've done or through what they've said.
Great. Yeah, that's a fantastic answer. We do get asked, these are questions that we get asked a lot in school, actually. And one of the topics we do in schools when we go in for our question of faith days is about angels. And we do a whole day about angels and explain how the Bible describes angels and Ezekiel's visions of angels. But the kids always want to know, have you seen an angel or heard one? So thanks for sharing that with us. Maybe by the time we next speak, you might have been visited by a surprise angel. Who knows?
There you go. Yeah.
Maybe a technical angel to come and sort out your technical issues.
Certainly use one. Yes. Yeah.
Now we do have some live questions coming in on the chat, but before I show you those, I'm going to ask you our final frequently asked question, which is, why do you think that God chose Mary to be Jesus's mum? So out of all the women in all of time, why did God choose Mary to be the earthly mother of his son on earth?
Well, when I wrote this story initially, I had to think long and hard about who Mary was, to be able to kind of depict her in the story. And so, I read a lot of what the Bible has to say about her. And there is certainly that sense in which she was a strong woman. I don't think there's any question. She was able to cope with a lot of pain and a lot of sacrifice during the course of her life. And of course, that was kind of predicted. She was there when Jesus died on the cross. So she was a woman who didn't stay away from difficult situations. But beyond that, she was a woman who I think really trusted God. The scriptures talk about, Gabriel says, God is pleased with you. And when you listen to the Magnificat, the poem, the psalm that she recites in celebrating, what's going to happen to her when she gives birth to Jesus, it's all about the wonderful things that God has done for his people through the ages and what she anticipates him doing through the coming of the Messiah. And all of that has to do with, I think, a very strong faith and trust that God is real, God is there, and God is on the side, of people, particularly in the case of the Magnificat, people who are poor, people who are struggling, people who are looking for help. So I think that kind of identifies the kind of person she was as well.
Yeah, that's great. And especially important for us to think about at the moment with the year sixes, in fact, every year group moving up to a new year. And in fact, all the students who would have normally been in school over the last 12 weeks kind of returning to some sort of weird form of normality, maybe before the summer, maybe in September. It's good for everyone to know in these strange times that God is real and can be trusted and is for us in our difficult circumstances.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Great. Okay. Well, we do have some live comments coming in. And for those of you who are joining us halfway through, hello to you. It's great to see Ruth with us again and your kids. Sai has been in and out. So hello, Sai from Life Church. Hello to Barry too from Holy Saviour in Bitton. Thanks everyone for watching. And sorry again, we don't have Bob's picture, but we will work on that and hopefully get him back at some point in the future. I've got some questions for you, Bob, coming in from our viewers. The first one is this. What stories, this is from Teresa, who is one of our school's team leaders who goes into schools across the city. And she says, what stories do you imagine that Mary might have told to Jesus when he was growing up?
I think she would have told him the stories of the people of Israel. Deuteronomy talks about passing your faith onto your kids, when you get up and sit down and when you lie down, whatever you're doing, you take the opportunity to tell them about who God is and what God has done. And as I say, given her familiarity with those stories that comes through in the Magnificat, I think that, she would have told him stories about, what God had done with his people Israel through the ages.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a book I remember reading at one point called The Bible That Jesus Read, which is the original Old Testament and the richness of the stories in those and how all Jewish children had to learn them and read them and probably would have been read them by their parents too.
Yep.
Great. This next question comes from Lucy, who is a mum of one of the children in a local school nearby, and also my wife, if you recognize the name. She would like to know, do angels visit everyone?
I don't know. I mean, I'm going to have to be entirely honest. People talk a lot about guardian angels, and I honestly don't know. I honestly can't say. They certainly don't visit everyone in the sense that they visit some of the people in the Bible and there's this huge boom moment and you're terrified and you fall to the ground and all of that kind of thing. But are angels for real? Are angels around us? Are angels about? Yes, I think they are. And in that respect, yeah, I suppose so. But I mean, I can't say for absolutely sure because, I've never seen one myself.
Absolutely. Great. I hope that answers your question, Lucy. And then finally, I've got a question from our new schools worker at Southampton City Mission. I don't think you've met her yet, but her name is Ellie. And she told me yesterday, Bob, that you are her new inspiration. We've started doing some storytelling or story writing ourselves during this lockdown period at City Mission. And so she has started to write some of the stories in her own way. and also has even had a go at doing a rhyming story, very similar to your rhyming Bible. But she would like to know what are your best tips for storytelling, and how do you come up with your rhyming stories?
Wow. First of all, thank you very much, Ollie. I'm really pleased, that you're having a go, because I think it's so important that that we do that, and try and kind of make the stories clear for, every generation in our own day and age. In terms of the tips, when I try and retell a Bible story, I read it from the Bible. That's the first tip. And then I try and take it apart. I look at the characters, the setting, the problem, like you would do with any kind of piece of literature. And I try and understand who the people were and the times in which they lived and the things that they went through, what the problem was. So I try and understand the story as best I can, and then sort of put it back together in a way that hopefully makes sense to whatever group of folks I'm addressing. So I think really, going to the Bible, reading it, taking it apart, putting it back together, that's the thing. And I suppose I would also say, in a kind of playful and winsome manner. I mean, I realize that it's not true for every Bible story. Some Bible stories are quite serious, but I think there's a lot to be said for kind of playfulness and winsomeness when we're retelling God's story, because I think people assume it's all quite serious, except that it isn't actually. There's so much excitement and adventure, and I think that needs to be brought out, and joy, So that's the first question. And the second one, as far as the rhyming stories go, I start with those same principles, okay? And then I don't know. I'm always kind of looking for phrases that I'm waiting for phrases that kind of capture the story, that hopefully end with a word that's easy to rhyme with. I just listened to Bob Dylan's new album, and one of the reviewers said he was very clever because Dylan's this way. He does it all the time. He ends on a phrase. It's always a rhyming phrase. And it's always a phrase where you have lots of other words you can rhyme with it. He never ends a phrase with the word orange. Okay. So
yeah,
like the word, the song that's kind of the big one on the album is called Murder Most Foul. And it's about the assassination of Kennedy, John F. Kennedy. And of course, the word foul, there's all kinds of things that you can rhyme with that. So I would say make life easy for yourself. And if you're going to tell a story in a rhymed way, find the simplest and most rhymable words you can to start with, and kind of go from there.
That's really great advice. Yeah, I was doing your story, If I Die, I Die, about Queen Esther on Monday, and I couldn't even say the name of the king, Ashvaharavas, or whatever his name is, let alone rhyme anything with it. So
and I didn't try.
Exactly. So really great top tips there. So thank you so much for those, Bob.
Sure.
We're going to have to say goodbye for now, Bob, but please do come back and see us again. It would be really great to have you on again. Ellie says, thank you so much for the tips. Lucy says, thank you for answering the question. And Teresa even said, such a powerful retelling of the story may be made much more powerful just by listening to it rather than seeing you. So who knows?
Well, I did wonder about that, and I know you want me to come back so people can see me, but maybe that's not going to be a good thing. I don't know.
Well, it'll be a surprise. Maybe it's a good surprise. Maybe it's a bad surprise. We don't know.
Exactly.
But I'll say goodbye for now. But Bob, please stay on the line because I'd love to have a chat to you afterwards about how we could sort those other things out.
Brilliant. Thanks, Matt.
Bless you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Great. Thank you so much today, everyone, for watching. Hello to you if you've joined halfway through. Hello, Pauline. I can see that you've joined us as well. It's really great to have you with us. We're just going to say a prayer to finish our online assembly together this afternoon. And if you would like to join in with this prayer, then at the end, you can say amen. If you don't want to, say nothing. It will go over your head and you'll be fine. But whether you pray or not, whatever you believe about surprises or angels or Jesus or Mary, you yourself can have a think about your own situation. Wouldn't it be great if there were spiritual creatures protecting you, guarding you, guiding you? Wouldn't it be wonderful, actually, if there was a all-powerful being who loved you and wanted the best for you? For Christians, we believe that's God and the angels, and they're there to help us through our lives. Maybe have a think about that just for a moment as I pray. Dear God, thank you for people like Mary, Jesus's mother, who show us what it means to trust in you and be ready to do whatever you ask us to. even if it sounds impossible. Please help us to look for your surprises in our lives and the lives of those around us, and to join in with what you are doing rather than expecting you to join in with whatever we are doing. May everything which you have said about us and planned for us and are surprising us with come true in our lives. If you would like to agree, you can say Amen. Well, that's all the time we have for today. But if you have any other questions that you would like to ask us about Mary or people of God, you can email us as usual on schools@southamptoncitymission.co.uk. If you want to get hold of any of Bob's books, you can go to his website, which is www.bobhartmanshop.com. The address is down there on the bottom. And we will be back with you again tomorrow when Ellie will be doing our Thoughts at 3 on the next of our People of God in our current week-long series of women, and that will be on Deborah. So please join us tomorrow. Please join her tomorrow, 3 p.m, Thursday, 25th of June, for that assembly. All it leaves me to say is stay safe, take care, and God bless, and we will see you soon. Bye-bye.